Hi there, Janet Fritz here for Galaxy Girl Creations. Welcome to my channel. Welcome to another day of 31 Days of Cut Files with MK and Janet. This is a week of cut files that I've created. Last week, the last couple weeks, MK has created. And you're not going to believe this, but I created this cut file before I had these photos. I know, it's unbelievable. But the cut file says Dine In, and it's a diner or drive-in type of sign. But on board the Royal Caribbean Oasis of the Sea, and I think most of their Oasis class ships and maybe their Quantum class ships, and I don't know about the other ones, but they have a Johnny Rockets, which is a hamburger joint basically. And one of the mornings before we had our first excursion, we weren't really sure what we were going to do for breakfast. We felt like the main dining room where you can get breakfast was going to be too slow. And we felt like there were going to be a ton of people in the buffet because it was a port day and everybody wants to get off the ship quick. And so they're going to just go up to the buffet and eat. So we went down to Johnny Rockets, which was very, very quiet. There were maybe, I don't know, a handful of other people in there eating, but it was awesome. I can't say the food was like uh, 5-star food or anything. It was basically what you would get at a Johnny Rockets on land if you're familiar with Johnny Rockets. I had a BLT with egg in it, and it was really good. I enjoyed it. I don't know that I would have, you know, spent a ton of money ordering it if I had a lot of time in the world and could go and get the main dining room for free. But I enjoyed it, and I felt like it was really good to go and grab something to eat before our excursion because we were going to be doing something pretty active during the day, and felt like I wanted to make sure that I had something in my stomach before I think this was the day we're supposed to snorkel. We didn't know at the time, but our excursion ended up getting canceled. But at the time, we didn't know that was the case, and I felt like if I'm going snorkeling and kayaking, actually, I want to make sure that I am not going to um, be seasick or feel like I need to like feel like I have no energy because I didn't eat. I don't know. That's just me, but I felt like a good meal was probably something that I should have before I went and did all of that. And I wasn't sure what the situation was with food at the excursion or on at the island. It is a Royal Caribbean island that we were at. It was Coco Cay, but I wasn't really sure how far away we were going to have to walk to go and get food and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, long story short, when we got down to Johnny Rockets, which is located in the boardwalk section of the ship, which also has a carousel and a hot dog place and a candy store and a whole bunch of other stuff like that, I was like, wow, this looks just like my cut file. I need a photo. So we took photos of each other in front of the Johnny Rockets, and I love how colorful they are. I love that they are very similar to what the cut file has. And so I am just pulling my colors for the cut file off of what is in the photo. So there's a lot of blue represented, even though I'm not wearing a bunch of blue. It looks like there's blue on my clothes. There's like a blue hue to the photos. And so I am using this paper that looks like kind of like a wave for the basics of my sign. And then I want to bring in some red and some yellow. You can see that I used yellow for the light bulbs in the red part of the sign. And then I wasn't really sure what I was going to do with the rest of it, so I'm going to do a little mixed media on my background. I thought, first of all, I thought I was going to just mark where everything was at, and I would actually do some inking with a brush, not a paintbrush, but a blending brush. And then I thought, you know what, I feel like doing some spraying, so let me see what is going, how that's going to look on top of some Vicky Bouton mixed media paper. And I have not used these Lindy's, I think they're called Sunburst sprays yet. Well, not this color anyway, not the yellow. But I felt like it was a really good color to go with the photos. So I start by just making it look like it's coming out from behind my photos. And I don't know, it wasn't doing it for me. I felt like there were too many harsh lines. So then I just started working my way out, and before I knew it, the whole thing was yellow. Sometimes that's how it goes, you guys. But I did kind of fan out the yellow so it gets softer and softer. And I'm pretty happy with the way that it came out. It's probably not my favorite background, but it's not my least favorite background either. So I kind of have a rule that I'm not finished with a layout until I'm happy with it. So if I wasn't happy with it, I would have probably just started over. But at the end of the day, I'm pretty happy with the way that it turned out. And, um, it is what it is. So I don't know if I have a lot of other bright yellow in this album. There is yellow represented, but it's not quite so bright. So fanning it out and thinning out the pigment was definitely working for me. I am using, up in the upper right hand corner, that is called a rinse well. It looks like a cat watering dish basically, but it has a little plunger in it where you can push the plunger and all the water goes into the bottom bowl, and then it has a bottle on the top so that it refills the place where you wash your brush. And that's what that is up there. I apologize that it's completely off screen, but if you're interested in that, I will try to remember to put a link down below for that as well. So I'm just kind of looking at it and trying to decide if I like it or not. And at this point I decide, well, you know what, I'm going to add some splatter and see if I like that better. But because this is really highly pigmented, the splatter looks almost orange, and I have no orange in these photos. So I take my brush back to it. Well, first I start by rolling my paper towels over it to pick up some of the pigment that I've put down, and then I'm going to go back over it with more water and pick up more pigment. So I don't want it quite as bright as it is. And that's what's in the little spray bottles, just some more water to kind of refresh it. And then I'm going to use my paintbrush and keep fanning out the pigment that I have, so maybe it blends just a little bit better. I feel like mixed media sometimes is a little bit of just playing around and moving pigment around on paper. Luckily, the paper from Vicki Boutin is very thick and it doesn't absorb right off the bat, so it allows you to move some of it around. If it was plain cardstock, it would be pilling by now, and I definitely would not be able to put this much water on it without having it just completely soaked, and I would not be able to pull up any of the pigment either. So I am really just pulling up any of the splatter that I put down, and then I will have to let it dry before I can continue to build on it. Luckily, you don't have to sit here and wait for it to dry. It's already dry. So now I'm going to go ahead and back the rest of my cut file. I'm going to add some black to add some contrast. I am going to use the signboard here as my journaling spot, and I'm just going to use a white Arteza gel pen in a 0.6, and I really like the way that that ends up looking. And then I am going to use black ink on the letters for the Dine in portion of the sign as well. And that's going to make that pop really nice and bold, and I really love how it ends up looking. And then of course I still have the arrows to add to it, but I think it looks really cool and it's bright and fun just like the photos. And there is a level of black in the photos with the eat sign and the road behind it. So I feel like the black was a really good choice for the rest of the layout. And then I am going to map my photos with a very thin black line to help those pop off of that bright yellow background as well. Sorry guys, I'm voicing videos back to back and my throat is a little bit tired. So now to lighten up a little bit of that yellow, I decide to go in with this fine polka dot stencil and use some Snowdrop White paper glaze over the top. And that's going to just lighten it up and add a little bit of extra texture to the background. And I think that really just, I don't know, I really like the way that it ends up looking. Even though it's not making it super light, it definitely adds some texture. And in the close-ups, you'll get to see a little bit more of what I mean by the texture and how it kind of lightens it up a bit. I guess you can kind of see it on camera. It's hard to see on my tiny screen where I'm voicing it because it doesn't give me a full screen. But I think you can see it on your screen if you're at full screen. But I like the way that it looks. It just brings in another fun texture. So now I'm just going to add a little bit of liquid glue and some ATG. The ATG is going to kind of just hold everything in place and while the liquid glue sets, because with that added texture, ATG just doesn't quite hold well enough over mixed media for me. So now I'm adding a little liquid glue into the interior of the letters. I could have just backed this with some black paper. I didn't have to use the letters, but we did supply the letters for you. So if you want to ink them up, you can. You could also ink them up in like an ombre type of effect or something like that. Whereas that would be a little bit harder with something that you were just backing it with, unless I guess you used an ombre paper. So options, you guys, options. So I'm really liking how it's making the title pop, and my journaling spot is built in, so I don't have to do any extra work for that. I think that's kind of fun. And I think I end up, yeah, I think I end up backing the entire thing with black paper, because that's pretty much what I do with a mixed media layout. I like to have a frame around it somehow. So I am going to back it with a 12 by 12 black paper, and then I am actually going to go all the way around the outside of the layout with some black sketchy lines. And then I am popping up these arrows onto some foam tape. So this is really the only portion that gets a little bit of added dimension. And I purposefully use the yellow foam so that if you can see it from the edge, it looks the same as the paper that I have done the mixed media on. While I do all of that, don't forget to go check out what MK's got going on. I say this every day. I feel like I'm a broken record, but I don't want anybody to miss out. If you haven't been following along so far and you're just tuning in for the first time, MK and I are both using the same cut file today, and I really highly encourage you to go check out what she's got going on, because I'm sure she will do something completely different with it than I am doing. That is just the nature of the two of us. We do things completely differently, but it is also fun to see the differences because you get lots of different inspiration. So now that I have so much black up in the upper left-hand corner, I want to bring a little more black and white down to the bottom right-hand corner by the photos there. And so I'm using some packaging from Scrap and Happy Studio, and I just want a really thin black and white line to kind of play off the black and white line of the journaling area where the signboard is underneath Dine in. And so I am bringing that in. Now I did use liquid glue to hold my photos down, and it's definitely not going to pull all the way up. That's why I cut such a thin piece. I'm using liquid glue to hold that down as well, and I'm not able to tuck it in very far at all, which is totally okay because that liquid glue is going to hold it. I'm just giving it a little bit of extra help with some weight from my acrylic block there, and then I'm going to pull out some labels so that I have just a little bit more room to do a little extra journaling on. And I really like the way that this balances the whole thing out. I chose a blue and a red because I've got the blue and the red in the upper portion of the cut file. So bringing those colors down to the bottom right is going to help balance that out as well. Again, I'm using some more ATG to hold everything in place, but I will actually probably add some liquid glue also, because anything that I've done mixed media on, if it's got any warping or anything, I'm going to want it to hold extra extra good, extra well. Maybe I'm not adding any liquid glue. Normally I do. But, oh yeah, there it goes. Because sometimes those edges like to curl up with the paper being a little bit warped. So I want to make sure it all stays put where it should be. Another good option would be to run it through your sewing machine and stitch around it. But I felt like a sketchy line was a little more playful. And this is a very playful layout because we're just kind of being goofy in front of these signs. So that is why I chose to do a more casual kind of border around it. Now, with all of that mixed media, my pen is not wanting to write super great over it, so I have to kind of go to a regular piece of paper and scribble here and there. Better choice might have been my Sharpie for this particular layout, but I'm so used to just using my Muji pen, that's what I did. That is it, you guys. I hope you enjoyed this one. And I hope that you are inspired again to pull out your cut files and use them on your layout. Thank you so much for watching. If you have questions or comments, leave those down below. And if you don't mind hitting that thumbs up button, I would really love that. And if you're not subscribed, I would love for you to subscribe to my channel as well. And I will be back again tomorrow with another video. So come back and see me then. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.